No. You give more base.
You give more base.
Yeah, we finished the mission. Okay.
That's right. We just started doing this.
Yeah, we've started telling you about Pasi Biros, about the contraptions which have 4 poles on the corners, right? Now, why do you need 4 poles on the corners? Right, remember we had the picture? You have the picture book?
Yes. Why do we need 4 poles in the corner?
Yeah. No, the one's going to ask that. I'm not asking you. Rhetorical question.
The tent would have fell down.
It doesn't have a tent, right? The point is not so much the poles, but rather that the poles have to have two-sided, right? But first picture in the second paragraph. Yeah. So the poles have to be two-sided.
Oh, okay. Right. Oh, I know why I'm confused, because we were looking at
the what?
We were looking at Perishai yesterday.
Perishai, right. So Lefisha Puritz Rabba made, since you have more free space than standing structure, because there's a lot of free space between the two between the pillars. Who else said Yumni? That's why you have to make 2-sided pillars. Avalop shooting, not single ones. In other words, now if you take a look at the picture, it has to be like Yud Tes, that each pillar is double-sided, and not single-sided, like he proposed in Chof. Single-sided, it's too much open area and too little fence. That's no good, right? Not like the picture next to it. That's right. Okay. And then that indicates also that there's another restriction. The other restriction which we have is that we only permit this type of setup where there's actually a well. But if there's no actual well, then we do not permit this, right? Rabbi Zir B'Shem Veloza said, "Higiyuchos sof tchumei Shabbos at echonim." Rabbi Veloza says this shows you how far Higiyucha means how far they reach the ends of the limitations of Shabbos. Here, Tchum Shabbos doesn't mean the actual walking distance, but the boundaries of the per restriction of Shabbos. Shim also came a makom acher v'chazar. That it teaches you how severe Shabbos is. That if you would have made this structure even somewhere else, even not around a well, and v'chazar v'zorak, and then you throw something. Now here's a typo, the next 2 words. It should be Merishus Harabim L'Socho. If you throw something from the public domain into the Pasi Biros, you're chayev. You're liable. If you throw something in the Pasi Biros, even though there's Poritz Merubal Oimed, there's more open space and standing structure, right? Nevertheless, as long as you have these 4 pillars at the 4 corners, you create Rishus Hayachid, you throw something into the confines of those 4 pillars, then from Rishus Harabim, that's throwing from Rishus Harabim to Rishus Hayachid, and you're liable to a chatos, or if you do it intentionally, to the death penalty. All right. Ram Rabbi Yossi said, "Levisha b'chol makom." He's really reiterating what we just learned. Since all over, I made Rabel Aparutz. You normally have to have more structure than open space, right? That's a general principle. In order to make something, confine an area, Rishus Hayachid has to have more structure surrounding open space. Here, however, V'kane keltala she'aporutz rabel. Here you were permissible in that you allowed the open space to be more than the structure. So therefore, in order to counterbalance that leniency, we're more stringent in another regard, or the Torah is more stringent in another regard. What was that? Normally, the minimum shear of a wall is 4 tvachim. A wall is 4 tvachim wide. It doesn't have to be wider than 4 tvachim, right? Here, however, the kad osa pashel 6 tvachim. Here on this wall, the walls be 6 tvachim, meaning that each of these pillars has to have 2 sides, each side of which is not 4 tvachim, as the normal minimal width of a wall, but rather 6 tvachim. Okay? So this is a special chumrah which we have. The truth is, I didn't realize that when we learned in the Bavli never pointed it out. but in fact this is a unique stringency that normally 4 tefachim suffices to make a wall, and here you need actually 6. Rabbi Yerushalmi Rav said, "Lo yitiru pasbiros el ole regolim bilvad." The only time they allow pasbiros is for the people making the pilgrimage festivals to Yerushalayim. Now this generates a machlokas. What do you mean by that? Rav Avin Amar b'shas ole regolim, only when there was a Beis Hamikdash. At the time when there was literal pilgrimage. So therefore, in our day and age, we would not be permitted to use pasbiros. It would be forbidden to do pilgrimage anymore, right? Rabbi Shmuel Yitzchak said, "Mivnei Oli Regolim." Whenever they're pilgrims, even in our day and age. In other words, the youth doesn't learn that it's limited to the epoch when there's a Beis Hamikdash, but as long as say they're wayfarers and they're traveling to Yerushalayim, they have this permissibility to use pasbiros. Amar Rabbi Ezer Kumi Rabbi Mona. Rabbi Ezer said from Rabbi Mona, Masnisa, I have a brayso Amrake, which tells us this. What does it say? It says, Osim pasin biros, pasbiros bismanazeh. One is allowed to make pasbiros in our day and age, right? You're allowed to do it even in our day and age. So it says, no, wait a second. V'atina, did we learn a brayso? Mimali mibora goyla begalgo b'shabes. One is allowed to fill up. There's a certain certain well, which was on the way to Eretz Yisrael, the way to Israel from Bavel. And it says about this well, you're allowed to fill it up with a pulley, meaning extend a bucket down on a pulley on Shabbos, right? Mibora godo, mivnei ma malim miber v'chuli, etc. Mivnei ma malim miber hakar begalgo b'yontif. Why are we allowed to fill up from this well, and also from the cold well, another well which there was called the cold well, with a pulley on Yontif. Ela b'shah she'olo Yisrael min hagoyla. When Am Yisrael left Bavel at the time of Shivas Tzion, time of the return to Zion, second Beis Hamikdash, v'chano loso be'er, they camped on that well. V'histu imoyim anavim shebenehem, and the prophets who were with them at the time made a condition that from this cold well they're allowed to use a pulley in order to pull to even though pulley seems to be beyond the pale of what I would normally allow on Shabbos Yontif, that they're allowed to use this pulley in this cold well on Yontif. Now, if that lo kol be'ero hiktiru, we know that in that case they didn't permit all cold wells, in other words, all wells which have cold water, el osa ber bivat, only that well which they camped upon when they were coming from Bavel to the land of Israel. Just like you say over there, that which is permitted is permitted. In other words, that which they expressly permitted is permitted. So too, hutar. Only that which is expressly permitted should be permitted, meaning only that which is permitted at the time when they allowed it, which is specifically for pilgrims at pilgrimage times and not in our day and age. Okay, that's what he wants to contend. That there's a limitation on pasbiros, that since the original raison d'etre of pasbiros was for the people Ola Regel, who came up on the pilgrimage at the time when there's a Beis Hamikdash, that raison d'etre for the pasbiros is eternal, and one may not use them in any other context. Now, I skipped. Sorry. However, even despite all that, Rabbi Avdimi of Haifa, Paskin the Haifa, and Rabbi Yirmiyah Hori b'Chalaf, and Rabbi Yirmiyah Paskin the city of Chalaf, b'Pasibiros, b'Bizmanazeh, the one is allowed to use Pasibiros even in our day and age. Okay, as long as one is using them for the purpose of traveling for an admirable purpose, such as to Yerushalayim, or I think it's brought down to learn Torah or something of that sort, one is allowed to use Pasibiros, make use of them even in our day and age. Okay? So far, so good?
Is this only for certain wells or
For all wells.
Okay.
That thing with the pulley was limited to certain wells, but possibly rows we said are not.
Yeah, the factor was just setting up the
Four corners, right. Okay. Says Moravim Boy Meimar Rameir Yoidil Rabiuda. Now Rameir is the one who said that you have to have, besides the, I really should have the Perish Chai. Rameir, what? No, there's one here, but if you recall yesterday, we saw Rameir holds that you have to have middle strips. And each one of the sides, besides the post at the side, you have the middle strips, right? There were 8 altogether, right? Okay, right. So they wanted to say that. So at first one wanted to say Rameir Yoder Rabiuda. That Rameir was only adding those middle strips because he was making bigger possibly rows. But if it's small enough that it only needs the ones on the side, so then he concedes Rabiuda that 4 suffices. Rabiuda, however, lo Yoder Rameir. Rabbi Yehuda might not consider a Rameir. He might hold you're not allowed to expand the possibly rows to the extent where you need additional passing. Rameir Yoder Rabbi Yehuda. So it says where. Okay, so what do you want to say? We want to say Rameir Yoder Rabbi Yehuda. Rameir Isli Dioimdin Pshutin. Isli Dioimdin Pshutin Vatamar Achein. You would really think so? Rameir holds you need to have both yumdin, both the double-sided pillars, and the simple pillars. And you're going to say that he agrees to Rabbi Yehuda. This cannot be. I'll tell you why not also. Why would Rameir hold you need both? He holds you need both. Why is that? Because it's a gzeira. It's a decree. Mitoch shat osed yumdin avalob shutim. If you don't allow him to make only the double-cornered, the double-sided pillars at the corners, and you don't make him make additional straight pillars in the middle, right? He might come to hold that mechitza Shabbos are permissible under those circumstances. In other words, that you are allowed to use those types of walls anywhere, not just around a well. And that's bad. And he's going to go and make possibly somewhere else other than one of the permitted places. And he's going to be liable. Now, mischayib normally means he's chayib the right, but here not necessarily. It means he's going to transgress the avera of the rabbanon of using possibly where they're inappropriate. Because midaraisa could be possibly work even when there is no well. That's what the Bavli at least says. It says that midrabanan they're limited to a place where there is a well. So anyway, Rameir says, I need you to make both the simple, the 4 simple straight pillars, and the 4 double-sided pillars as a gzeira, in order that the guy should know, they're making me make something besides the single-sided pillars, or besides the double-sided pillars. After 2 things, it must be as a special case, and I can't do it somewhere else. It's a reminder to jog his memory that this is unique and nothing else is similar. Okay? You don't like it?
I don't think it's going to make a difference to the
guy. You're right. Could be a moment.
You're going to have to make 6 tefachim each side.
That should be a reminder of itself, you're saying. Well, I can't argue with you because Rabbi Yehuda obviously holds that suffices.
No.
So we're just saying Rabbi requires an extra safeguard.
Are we talking about the distance between the walls have to be less than 10 amos?
According to Rabbana. According to Rabbi Yehuda, according to Rabbi they can be up to 13 and a third.
Oh, I see. So then you only need a pole in the middle if you open for 2
Right.
Okay, I can see that.
Okay? It's the opposite. I made a mistake. Rabbi holds 10 amos, and Rabbi Yehuda holds 13 and a third. Okay, so says Gemara, Rabbi Yaakov b'shem Rabbi Chanina said, Lo dain modei dain, lo dain modei dain. You're right, neither one concedes to the other. Rabbi Yehuda holds specifically the 4 double-sided posts, and you may not have middle posts at all. Rabbi holds specifically you need the middle post. And having side posts by itself does not suffice. Rabbi Mona said, Avagav Lomar Rabbi Yossi. Even though Rabbi Yossi did not say It should be Rabbi Yosef Rabbi instead of Dachi. Even though Rabbi Yossi my Rebbe did not say Hada Milsa, he didn't say explicitly this statement. Amr the Kavasei, he made a similar statement. How so? Where do we see he made a similar statement? We're going to see at the end of the Amud. Rabbi Bun, and next to where should be Rabbanon, Rabbanon. Rabbi Bun and the rabbis, Rabbi Zera, they asked for Rabbi Zera. Kami et Yoimed, now this is a big typo. The Achronim point out, the Chaim Kanievsky and the Lieberman point out that it should be Kami et Yomed Rochok, not Oroch. Oroch means long. I'm not concerned about how long it is, but how far away it is from the other one. Below Yehei, and the Reb Chaim Kanievsky also takes out the next word, Below Yeh Pashut. It's not going to be considered to be to fulfill the parameters of a simple one. Now, meaning by this, no corner and mirror, you have to have both the corner one, which is double-sided, and a single one on each side. But if it's too close, if the single one is too close to the double one, so it becomes absorbed in the double one, right? So how far distant does it have to be? That's what we're asking.
From the double one?
Yeah.
At least over 3.
Over 3, right? Question whether that suffices. You're right, at least over 3, right? Kami et yomer rachok v'lo yeh pashut, and it shouldn't be considered, and it's not considered a separate. Amrali pachas mishleisha kisasim. As you pointed out, if it's within 3 tvachim of the other one, it's all considered one continuous, right? Yoytzim mishisha, if it's more than 6 tvachim away, then for sure it's separate. Huflagim, which is good. Kenokim, and the machlokas is in this case. Mishlosha v'ad arba, when it's between 3 and 4 tvachim away. There's the Reb Chaim Kanievsky changes that between 3 and 6 tvachim away. Let me explain both possibilities. Between 3 and 4 tvachim away, it's already out of lavud, right? So it's not connected. But it's not separate unto itself because the shiur of separation Allah is always 4 tvachim. Right, so that's the shiur of an opening and a breach in the wall. So the question is, between 3 and 4 tvachim, is that considered to be still connected because it's not a true breach, or is it considered to be separate because it's more than 3? That's the conventional way of learning the Gemara. Reb Chaim Kanievsky's way is to say that if it's anything less than 6 tvachim is a question, right? Because more than 3 there's no lavud. On the other hand, it's less than 6, so if you have less than 6, so you can say oimer merubah, right? Because the one side is at least 6, because that's a minimum amount that the post has to be in the corner, right? And the other side has some volume to it too. So therefore, maybe because of bits of Ome Meruba, that the majority of standing structure cancels the open structure, so maybe as long as there's less than 6 of an interruption between the two, so that's considered already to be not an open space. And then the straight one, which I have, the simple post, which I have further down the road, is not considered to be separate, and therefore I don't fulfill Rabbi Meir's requirement that there be 4 posts independent of the double post. So it says more again, our question like this, Mishlosha vat shisha, if it's between 3 and 6, Intem Rabbi Meir Yod Rabbi Yehuda, if you're going to say Rabbi, now, deal with what you're leading up to. You want to prove that Rabbi Meir does not concede the point to Rabbi Yehuda. Because if you're going to say Rabbi Meir concedes to Rabbi Yehuda, no, we're not there yet. 3 lines to the bottom. We're going to say Rabbi Meir concedes the point to Rabbi Yehuda. Okay? Then Yasak Tiyomrach, what do you care? Why you need a separate one in the middle? You don't need it. All you need is 4 altogether. You don't need 8, right? So the whole question is moot. It's not relevant, right? Lo Yitzar Bush, you don't need a simple one. So it must be by virtue of the fact we're asked the question, how much of a distance do you need to have between the one in the corner and the one in the middle? Must be that the one in the middle must be a distinct entity in and of itself, right? Amrai Babar Memo, Lo Nitzar Chaim Meir B'Pshutim El B'Shitas Rabbi Yehuda. The truth is, Rabbi Meir himself does not always require simple, you pointed this out yourself a few minutes ago, it doesn't always require simple middle segments. When does he require that? Only when it's more than 10 amos, right? Like Rabbi Yehuda allows up to 13 1/3. Rabbi Meir doesn't allow, so in that case he requires simple ones in the middle. Rabbi Yehuda said no. Vafilu mishitzei, even according to Rabbi Meir's opinion himself. In other words, up to 10 amos. Still, mikol makom, nevertheless, he requires the simple, straight ones in the middle. And this is where Rabbi Yosef says that Rabbi Meir doesn't consider Rabbi Yehuda even in a small possibility, like we mentioned before, right? Why? Because since there's no more free standing structure in free space, and because should be she'ein or rabba parot, there is no more standing structure than free space, then tzorich pashut, you have to add on an additional board. Again, it's a spell quite damn. It's a slightly different example we said before. The example we said before is that we're afraid a person. Well, actually, it's very similar. The example we said before is we're afraid a person might make a mistake and come to make possibilities elsewhere where it's not warranted. He also, similar idea. If we don't allow him to make a simple one in the middle, says Rabbi Yosa, if you don't make him make a simple one in the middle, then it's people are going to get confused and they can always use Paritz Meruba Loimed. You can always use a scenario where there's more open space and free structure. And that's not true. We're afraid people are going to do the wrong thing. So every mayor, as a mnemonic device, in order to jog our memory, required us to have both Yumdin, both double-sided posts, and Pshutim single-sided posts as well. Okay?
Okay, quickie.
Yeah.
What does it convert the area into when you put the post up there?
It's Mamish Rishus Yochid.
That's what I asked. Okay.
Yeah, literally Rishus Yochid. Okay, the truth is, for the next one, it'll be make it much simpler if I get the Parish guy. So let me just get, there's one over here in the back, I think. Let me just get it for a second. Oh, I hope not, because the Gemara wasn't hard to Gemara today.
No. I used my sleep machine. It's driving my sinuses crazy. If I don't use it, I'm in trouble. If I do use it, I'm in trouble. I gotta do something.
No, if you don't for sure not going to make it tomorrow night.
Yeah.
He's out, since David Strudel's out of town anyway.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll learn with him earlier in the day.
Okay.
Are you available early in the day, by any chance?
Yeah.
What time is you available? Are you available all day?
Be available for 12, 1 o'clock.
What?
12, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock.
Yeah. So,
Where
where can I reach you during the day? Do you have your cell phone with you? Or a beeper? Or should I leave message at your house? Okay. Because if I can arrange an earlier time. Okay. Arrange an earlier time. I don't know where his office is. I think he works in Skokie though somewhere, so maybe we can just meet you in the day.
I work for a job in the morning and I get disgusted.
You're so tired of it. The president is lying. You wanted people to be honest with you?
Do you know any politician that tells the truth? And how many other presidents have fooled around? I mean, even Eisenhower had his...
All right. That's like... Anyway, we're on tape. We got to be careful. Says the Gemara, now, what? Oh, the 2 dots. It's sort of third line down to your down base. He had a large stone. Okay, look at this. You have a large stone instead of the double-sided thing. You have a large stone, a block, right? So, we look at it if we would split it. Shishal would have 6 on the inside and 6 on the 6 on this side and 6 on that side. Right now, I'm on each side. Nida mishum diomed, then it's a diomed. Istani tani, those who learn she'im tichokek, that the language to be used is not techolek, which means to split, but techokek, which means to carve. What's the difference between the two languages? one says techolek and one says techokek. What's the difference? So the Gemara proposes a difference. Tani, she'it hamboy mem. They wanted to say manamar she'im techokek modivivnim. Techokek means to carve away. So that means that you look at it on the inside. In other words, this inside corner, this inside has to be 6 by 6. So obviously means that the outside is somewhat larger, right?
No, so why bother taking away? Just you have more space inside?
No, you have less space inside. It's a b'chumrah.
Oh.
Because it's going to take a smaller stone to make 6 by 6 on the outside than 6 by 6 on the inside of the stone. Okay?
Oh, they're talking about 6 by 6 on the inside.
Right.
Okay.
So there are those who want to say that Shin Tichokek means mother if need measure on the inside. Man Mashim Ticholek, that who says that the language of Ticholek says Moed Mechutzi measure on the outside, right? Which is more lenient. So Rabbi Yeser said, nah, that doesn't make a difference. Lo od beklipas ashuma chitzoina at asi laramita. Look, the bottom line is even measured on the inside. You can look at it as if it's the thickness of a piece of garlic, of the garlic skin, actually, which is very thin. In other words, there's really a minuscule difference. Because here, look in the picture drawn here, it looks like a significant difference because he drew a large, thickness to the star corner. Truth is, the thickness, though, once we're looking at it in theory, we can strip it down to a thickness to strip the size of a garlic skin, the width of a garlic skin. So there's no real difference between the inside and the outer edge, right? Havi lo shani ben command amar shim to cholek ben command shim to chokek, right? It makes no difference. It's all going to come out to basically the same thing anyway. Ben you can even give measure on the inside and you'll come to the same conclusion. So rather, what he means to say, mandamashtim to shin tichakek ba'agula. It's the mandamashtim tichakek says you can even use a round thing in order to do it. Now, a round thing, you have to make 2 steps. You have to take, I don't know if he has a good picture of that. I think he did. Yeah. Round thing, you have to, this is not a good picture. That's bad. I mean, it doesn't tell us exactly.
Picture here is really good.
No, that's not, there's a round, but the thing is, the round thing, first you have to make it square, and then you have to cut it away.
Oh, I see.
Okay, so it's 2 steps, right? So Manda Mar She'im Tichakek, that says you cut it away on the inside. Ba'agula holds that you can even use a round pasibiros, and you just look at it as if you made 2 steps. You cut it to square, and then you cut it away, so it's a proper angle. Manda Mar She'im Tichakek, you says that you're not allowed to carve away at it or chip away at it. What you're only allowed to do is cut it, right? He says it has to start off being square. You can't start off with a circle. Because they don't give you the right to take 2 steps, but both cut it down into a square and then cut it away to make an angle. You can only take the 1 step if you have a square going to an angle, but you can't start with a round one according to him. Okay? It's a little bit of a difficulty, right? It's a little bit weak, but that's what it says. I don't make it up, I just read it. Right? Potato chashukein. Should know that this is the distinction between the 2 positions. Why? The Tanya, because this we recorded in a brayso a conversation between these 2 sides. Meisiv l'chavrei, one of the sides asked the other, Ein bein divrei l'chavrecha. He said, there's nothing between my position and your position, Ella, except Shato Omer Bagula, you say if it's round, it's good enough. Ani Omer Bermubas, that's to start off being square. So we see that indeed was the topic of their discussion. Okay? Hayasham Chritz. Now, amazing Chiddush Yerushalmi says is non-Bavli. Let's say on one of the corners you didn't have an outcropping or a square, you had a trench. A trench, which is actually goes, in other words, you had 3 posts and 1 trench, which went to the ground, the same dimensions. The trench was 6 by 6, right? And it went down 10 tefachim. It works. Okay, you had a trench which was at least 10 tefachim deep and 4 tefachim wide, minimum shear of a trench. It's got 6 tefachim on either side. Nidom mishum diumed, that it works. Okay, there's a picture of that in your in there. In there. The third picture on the top of the page. What number is that? Picture number Chav Gimel.
Oh, okay. This is
right. Okay, so that's actually a trench which goes into the ground.
Oh, I see.
And that trench serves as a diumen. Okay? Okay, says Gemara. Lo sof davar charitz, and it's not just charitz. El filu gav shusif, even if it's a mound. Here you have a picture of a mound. No, not by you. Here in the Perish Chai. Here a picture of a mound. The mound can also serve as one of the diumen. Okay? And not only that, let's say you have a combination of a trench and an outcropping. The trench is 5 tefachim deep. The outcropping is 5 tefachim high. They combine together to make 10 tefachim, and that works as well. Okay? Hayu chamisha, if there were 5 kanim. That's picture, the next picture. See the 5 reeds in the corner there? Okay. Here also you have a picture of it. 5 reeds. 1, 2, 3 on one side and 2 on the other side because one is in the corner, right? And between each one of the reeds is 3 tvachim, right? So that means you have 6 by 6, right? So, and there is now 3 talking between each one of them. And there's 6 tvachim in either direction. The donim mishum diumed, and they count as diumed. It's valid, right? Shlosha v'kosher gemi milamalo. Now this is a fascinating question, which you probably does not discuss. You have to be impressed with this question. The next picture down on the line, you have Chav Hey. That's a Tzuras Pesach, although it's 2D. But you try to make a Tzuras Pesach. You see that? So does that work? So Shlosha v'kosher gemi milamalo maush yatzim mishum peah does work because the peah, which is the Yerushalmi's term for Tzuras Pesach. Says more, no, of course not. Klum peah matzel sachet tuei muchachs mikol tzadeh. The Tzuras Pesach only works if it surrounds. You can't have Tzuras Pesach on one side. You can only have it if it surrounds, right? Right. So that's no good, right?
Right. Because you need 2 poles.
Right. So
I see.
it has to connect somehow. Ela behein daglin. The question is like in this case, it's aglin usually means round, but here it means closed. In the next case, look at the next case.
This one.
You made a Tzuras Pesach which surrounds an area, right?
Yeah.
So can you use that as a diumid? You're right. Right? Why? But why? It's a good question. Why not? Why it doesn't work in Yerushalmi gives a nice explanation of it. Says Yerushalmi, excuse me. Kisos Elabein Daglin Kisosim, it's closed. Just like we said by the stone, by the square, so that you can split it apart. It's always at 6 on either side. It works as diumed. Can I say the same thing here? Says more, no. A very beautiful reason why not. Tamon there. You know why? Because by stone you can carve it away, in theory, and until you have a garlic skin thickness of stone. Right? So Tamon, ad klipas hashum chitzon ad osi lamido. You can put it, you can depict it as if it's eventually down to the outer garlic skin layer of the surface of the stone. However, here, how do you propose to do it? What are you going to do? Carve away the Tzuras HaPesach, so you'll be left with nothing. As we said, right, which is no good. Right? If you carved away the inside in order to try and make a two-sided thing, it's no good, because we just got said Tzuras HaPesach has to be a closed area. So the moment you start carving, you're left with an open area, and that's not about Tzuras HaPesach. So even though by stone you can cut away in theory, in this case you can't cut away, because that would deprive you of Tzuras HaPesach. Okay? You could, but that would be practical.
Well, but that's irrelevant, because there's no props there, so
right, obviously. Okay? HaKoisel Va'ilon. Now, the same thing, you can, if you have here a wall or a tree, Va'ishos means a thicket. Va'ishos Akanim, a thicket of reeds. Nidanim Mishum Diumet. They can all serve as a diumet. However, this thicket of reeds or this wall came there on its own. It's not man-made. So then, the Talim may not base a sign. They can only serve as a wall up to a base of sign, because we said by natural walls you're restricted. They can only have 5,000 square miles within the walls, right? We said that at the end of Erev in the Bavli, with the tree topped and under the tree, you can only carry up to a base of sign, right? I saw them beyond metaltim boy and afilu kuraim, but if they're man-made, right, they're fixed there, so then you can be metaled within them even up to a kur or 2 kur, as much as you want, because once it's man-made, you can make it as large as you want. Hoysa ber achas godo. The case is like this. Chav Zayin. You had a be'er, right, and Pasbiros, but the Pasbiros only extended over half of the well. The well was not placed in the middle, but rather towards the side. So in this case, Haisa be'er, Achas Godel, the Chetzi Los only made on half of it. For the half which you made, it's permissible, right? You can carry there. Also, you now have to carry on the other half. Very simple, right? Is that clear? If there were 2 wells next to each other, now that's this scenario over here. Can I use the middle wall for both? Now, the truth is, in this case, I would say, why not? The way the Stipler son has it, it's mamish 2 possibilities, one next to the other. The way the Or Sameach draws it, it's like about a case where, over here, like I drew on the side of my Gemara, it's like about a case where you're missing one diomid in the middle. You have the diomnim on the 4 corners, the outer corners surrounding the two bureaus, but you don't have one, you're missing one, and you have one in the middle, right? But you're missing the other one. So what's halacha in this case? So he says, in this case, interesting halacha. He says, I use the middle wall for both. What are we talking about? The only question is whether 2 people can fulfill simultaneously, because then they're both using this the middle wall. The truth is, I'm using my wall and this wall, and you're using this wall and this wall. So if we're using it simultaneously, so then these two, then it's a mutually exclusive. So it's a paradox, because I'm using this pass as part of my. This pass is part of my section, using this pass as part of your section, right? So that's no good, right? But if one of them is doing it on one side and the other does it on the other side, then that's for sure okay. Nidan Lakan. Then in that case, they can serve for each side in turn. Okay, now this is a complicated case. It's not complicated, but it's new. Chiddush. Next case in the Stipler son. You see that case over there? You have a chatzar, though he only has one. He has only, yeah. The truth is, he has there 2 chatzars, which the next case somewhere. But imagine there's only one chatzar there. There's one chatzar extended to the Pasabiros.
Okay.
So it's a courtyard which stands between the possibly rows. So it says the Yerushalmi, Chotzer shi p'tul pasim, mitali min ha-chotzer pasim. For you can carry from the chotzer to the pasim, but not avol lo min ha-pasim bil chotzer, but not from the pasim to the chotzer. In other words, the pasim is subordinate to the chotzer, right? But the chotzer is not subordinate to the pasim. Right, the carbonated changes gears to say you can't carry from either to the other one. You can't carry back and forth. You can't carry back and forth at all from the courtyard to the. But Lieberman proves that that's incorrect. Says you can carry from the chotzer to the pasim because since the pasim are less of rishus hayachid, therefore they become subordinate to the chotzer. But you can't carry from the pasim to the chotzer, from the lesser rishus hayachid to the greater rishus hayachid. Okay. Hashtayim. Now that's only true if you have one chatzar. What if there are two chatzeros? Then also they're not allowed to carry it all. Why is that? Because there's no way to make proper eruv chatzeros between these 2 yards. Why can't you make proper eruv chatzeros between these yards? Each around makes eruv chatzeros on its own. What unites yards normally? In a mavui, what unites 2 yards? No, shitufei mevos. So,
there's something crossing on top.
No, we'll forget about the wall structure now. Let's talk about the matzahs. Besides with the matzahs, which you get to make the eruv chatzeros among the house and the chatzer, you'll need to make shitufei mevos between the 2 chatzeros. It's called shituf mevos. So they won't become united in a common mavui. Problem is here, there's no mavui in which they can become united. What is there? Pasibiros. There's no din of eruv chatzeros or shituf mavos in a pasibiros, so they can't become united.
Oh, what is it?
It's not just this scenario where there are two courtyards. It's a fascinating concept, he says. Let's say there's only one courtyard. Going back to one courtyard, but there are 2 houses on the courtyard.
Okay.
Now they can make an eruv among themselves, right?
Right.
But they can't carry in the pasibiros. Why can't they carry in the pasibiros? Because this is a lumdisha concept. This is a theoretical construct. Eruv chatzeros unites us, but it doesn't make us one.
Right.
So if it unites us and doesn't make us one, we still need, besides the eruv chatzeros, when we want to go to another area, a shituf mevos. We need to contract in that mavui, in that alley, to be united as well. So we need 2 procedures. According to Yerushalmi, eruv chatzeros to unite us in the chatzer. That unites us but doesn't make us one. So therefore, when again we want to carry in the mavui, we need another procedure called shitufei mevos. Can you do shitufei mevos in the pasibiros? No, because it's not a mavui, right? They never made a takana there. So therefore, as long as there are 2 houses, they can't carry, even in the same courtyard. Not in 2 courtyards like this. Even in the same courtyard, they can't carry out. Okay? Because they can't make the shituf mevos, which is necessary. Okay? Savra meimer below shlo ever. Now, I explained all of this outside, but the Gemara goes through it inside. Savra meimer shlo ever. They wanted to say the reason why these 2 houses cannot carry in the pasin is because they didn't make an eruv. Haim eruv, but if they made an eruv mutar, then they're allowed to carry even between the baspiros. Rav Daniel, Brei Rav Katina, B'Shem Rav Huna said, no. I feel evil, even in the 2 houses in the Chotzer made an eruv asuros. She'ein eruv osa osan achas. The eruv does not make them one; it unites them, and therefore they need an additional unification in the mavui. Can they make such unification? No, because it's not a mavui, so therefore they cannot make it. Right? Rav Huna de Kedaite. Rav Huna expressed this elsewhere. This concept that eruv does not make us one; it just unites us. Now, let me tell you this outside before I tell you inside. Listen, you have halacha, if there's one Jew living with the goyim in his courtyard, he doesn't have to rent property from them. He doesn't have to rent the right to carry. Why is that? Because it's not prevalent. One Jew doesn't live alone in a courtyard of goyim. Why is that? Because goyim are murderers. And if there aren't many Jews to mutually protect each other. So goy, it's something which is not prevalent, and Chazal didn't make such a takon in that case to be socher reshus. So only made takon if there are more than one Jew in a courtyard, because then people do live like that because they protect each other, and we don't like them like that. We don't like people living in close proximity to non-Jews. So therefore, there's an incentive to get them to move out. We told them, well, you want to stay, you have to be socher reshus in order to carry on Shabbos. Now, let's say, says the Gemara, you have multiple Jews, many Jews with a goy, but they made an eruv between all of them.
Okay.
Does that work? Because now they became one.
Yeah.
So therefore, they're like one Jew with a many goyim. And one Jew with many goyim doesn't have to make a shiur reshus.
Right.
It's true there are many people, but they made an eruv, so maybe that makes them one. So that Rav Huna said it doesn't make them one, it just unites them. That's why they still need shiur reshus. They still have to rent out the right to carry.
Oh, I see.
Okay? So that's what it's about to say. Rav Huna afil irvu asuro she'ein eruv oiso sanachas. Rav Huna gedai to this balgun. Rav Huna is like is of the same opinion. Wasn't a machlokas. What's a machlokas? Mavi shetzito echad akum. On one side are goyim, shetzito echad Yisrael, and one side are Jews. Rav Huna b'shem Rav Amar. Rav Huna said name of Rav. If irvu derech psachim, even they made an eruv together through their doorways, Hakamos are laying, the goy still forbids them from carrying. Well, until they're socher reshus. Our Chanim Shir B'Yochanan argues. He says, "Afilu irvu derech chalonos," even if they made an eruv, not because they share common openings into the chum b'chatzer, but because of a very obscure case. We had in the Bavli, very obscure though. Even if they live in such close proximity that there's one Jew's house opens into the Mav with the Chatzar, the other Jew's house opens behind that Jew's house into that Jew's house, right?
Yeah.
So they're mamish very close together. That's what it means an eruv through chalonos, through windows, because they're mamish right next to each other. And I might say in that case for sure they have to be socher reshus, because they're certainly going to protect each other. They're so close to each other. So therefore, in order to Chazal would enforce their takana, and even if these two guys who are living in close proximity to each other made an eruv together, they still have to be socher reshus from the goy. Rabbi Yochanan argues. He says once they made an eruv, even through the windows, eina akum osar leyan, the goy cannot forbid them from carrying. In other words, they don't have to be socher reshus. So we see Rav Huna is consistent. Rav Huna holds that he always that an eruv does not make everybody one. So that in that case the Jews would be one on one against the goy, and as many Jews as there, and therefore they would have to not do shiur reshus. He holds it just unifies them. And that's why over here they have to make an additional unification in the pasim, which they cannot do, so they can't carry it all in the pasim. Right? Rabbi Yochanan holds that an eruv unifies and makes one as well. Therefore, once they're one, so they can carry between the pasim as well, right? So as we're not, I feel these were Rabbi Yochanan, Rav Huna, Rabbi Yochanan, Tamon. Even if Rav Huna held like Rabbi Yochanan, that an eruv makes everybody one. Tamon mutar modu. Tamon mutar there, over there you would be allowed to carry without being so reshus. Modu ach, here even Rabbi Yochanan could see shu aser. Why? Tamon shemel macha techorev habe'er. Because here, actually, over there, even though it says over there, it means over here. Here we're afraid that we're not going to let him carry between the pasim when he has another friend in the courtyard, right? Why is that? Because maybe the next day the pasim rolls, the bear will get filled in. It'll get stuffed up. And he's going to continue carrying through his eruv. We're afraid that he's going to continue to carry the pasibiros on the basis of his eruv, whereas pasibiros does not work in eruv. It only works in a chotzer. But eruv chotzer does not work in pasibiros. It only works in a chotzer, right? Right. And a very moil eruv pasibiros, right? And since an eruv doesn't work in pasibiros, so therefore it's not going to be valid. And therefore, we don't let him now even use an eruv, lest he come when there is a well, lest he come to use an eruv when there is no well, which is absolutely forbidden. Is that clear?
Exactly.
In other words, in this situation, where you have a courtyard opening into the well, and even if it's one courtyard,
Okay.
but there are two people in the courtyard, and they want to use an Erev Chatzeres between the two of them,
Okay.
and carrying the pod between the pasim as a result, that's forbidden. Why? Because we're afraid that someday a situation might occur where the well will get stuffed up, and they'll forget that there was only a special heter when there's a well, and they'll come to carry even under those circumstances.
Oh, I see.
Okay, so therefore, even Erev Chatzeres makes one, we still wouldn't allow them to get away with it.
Okay.
Okay, we'll stop here for this evening.